Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. I believe we're there. Here come my fellow presenters. This evening we're going to be talking about yesterday's win. Joining me from there, he's got two hats on tonight. Okay, one of them's presenting, one of them's producing, but they keep sliding off that bald head of his. Good evening, Tim Richards.
Good evening, or morning, sir. How are you?
It's good morning. What's the time over there?
Silly o'clock in the morning, 7 a.m.
Good work, mate. Good work. Well, thank you for doing what you're doing this evening. I know you're going to be jumping in and out this evening because of what you're doing in the background. Up north is Nigel Croucher. Good evening, Nigel.
Good evening, Nick. Everything okay?
All good, mate. And once again, thank you for all your work you've done for me in the background today. I'm very grateful. And as always, we have Mr. Noble. Ian, good evening, mate.
Evening, Nick, and evening, everybody. I love the way that you ask Tim every week, what time is it in New Zealand, when you should know every week you ask him the same question, which does make me smile inwardly.
Well, maybe, I don't know that their clocks might have gone forward or back. It might be different to over here. I don't know.
7 a.m. Tim, you're a legend, mate. It's really good to have you on.
Do you know what it is? And listen, I can see everybody out in Facebook land. Thank you for spending your Sunday evening with us. Let's have a look, see who's out there. John Knox, Colin Squires, Lee Lockwood, Rob Donovan, Mike Montgomery, good evening, guys. Steve Chandler, Chris Wood, Chris Gunn, yeah, likewise, mate. Great seeing you today. Paul Holden, Andy Stacey, and many, 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 many more. Just say hello to us in the chat, so I know you're there, people. Laurie Scott, Paul McManaro, and I can see you there. Anyway, welcome to the Red and Blue Review. In case you don't know, my name is Nick Philpott. I'm your host tonight. And you can see the guys that are coming and joining us. We are going to be going through, obviously, details on yesterday's game. We're going to be discussing the 6,500 going back into Sellers Park for the Arsenal game. We're going to be talking about this year's Walk and Talk, very importantly. That's coming up. And we're catching up on what's going on with the other Palace teams because they've had a really successful season, and Nigel will be covering that off at some point. Where should we start, boys? I'll tell you what, Nigel. Actually, let's kick off with the other teams, the other Palace teams. If you've got a couple of bits and pieces there, go through that, and I'll get onto the game in a minute.
Right. We'll start off with the under-23s. They've now finished their league season. They finished that on Friday, actually up here about 20-minute drive from here, but couldn't get in. That's a shame. And we are now guaranteed a place in the playoffs. Stoke are already in the playoffs with us, and possibly to join us, we've got Wolves, Middlesbrough and Sunderland. They all play their final matches between 1 and 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
And when do they start, mate? When do the playoffs start? Do you know?
There's 2 of them kick off at 1 o'clock, and the other one kicks off at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
What are they playoff games you're talking about, or are they their final games?
No, they're their final fixtures.
Okay, so when do the playoff rounds start? That's what I'm asking you.
I haven't actually seen the dates for those yet. I'd imagine we'll probably see that once we know what order the 4 teams are in.
Okay.
So Palace are in the last 4 in the under-23s. They're in the semi-finals, are they?
Yeah, it's like the last, but it's 2 down to 5 rather than 3 down to 6 that you get in the Premiership.
Okay, yeah, got that. Yeah, okay.
So as it stands at the moment, we're 3rd.
Brilliant.
We can't catch Stoke, who are way out in 2nd, but it's between the other 3 teams.
So who are we likely to get in the semi-final?
Oh, probably. I'll go a quick run through how it can go. If Wolves and Sunderland win, we finish in 5th place. Wolves draw and Sunderland win, we finish in 4th place. Wolves draw and Sunderland draw, that'll mean Palace finish in 3rd place. Wolves lose, Sunderland draw, means we finished in 3rd place.
So we can play anyone, basically. Is that what you're saying?
So basically, we can get anybody apart. It is. We can get anybody. Stoke are guaranteed sort of the top notch, and then it's up to the rest.
Good stuff. And what about the under-18s, Nige?
Right, the under-18s at the moment, we're still sitting on top of the under-18 Premier League South. Saturday, they won a 7-goal thriller, and that was against West Brom. We went down early 1-0, but turned in a magnificent 6-1 win. And I say we've now
7-1, wasn't it?
7-1, yeah, sorry, 7-1 win. And they've now completed all 24 games. Fulham have 1 game left, which is away to Chelsea next Saturday.
Sorry, Nigel, cut across you. That's not fair, is it? In the Premier League and in the other blooming league, they play all the games at the same time, don't they? So now Fulham know what they've got to do. That's not fair, is it?
Well, Brighton finished last week.
What's that about then?
Well, there's an odd number of teams in the league.
Well, write a letter to the FA to complain, because that's not good enough.
Oh, okay, that's the email. That's tonight's email.
Keep going,
okay, as it stands, we're on 56 with plus 35, and Fulham are on 53 with plus 50. So a win for Fulham means they're champions. A draw or a loss for Fulham.
Any other result, we're champions.
Anything but a Fulham win, and we're champions.
I just want to pick up on a couple of things. I just want to pick up a couple of people. So Joan Wells has just said in the chat, "Good evening, Joan. I hope you're well. Both the under-23s and the 18s are doing extremely well, and you're quite right." And ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, would you like us to cover the under-23s, the under-18s, and the ladies' game a little bit on the show every week? I got some fantastic feedback last week from it. Put your message in the chat now. Yes or no, whether you like us to in next season, whether you want us to touch on these. By the way, I've seen you, Sean Feeney, and I'm waving back, mate. Keep going, Nigel. Anything else there?
Right. And after that, we now come on to the women.
Yeah.
And so as we said last week, they've already finished their league, and they've finished 7th out of 11 teams on 20 points. But they're still in the FA Cup, and they are due to play Arsenal women at the Meadow Park next Sunday afternoon. That's May the 16th at 3 p.m. And that is in the last 16 of the Women's FA Cup.
Where's Meadow Park?
Is it Barnet?
All right, okay.
It's one of the smaller teams grounds up in North London. And then I've heard a rumour that once the ladies have finished their season, a friend of the show, Dean Davenport, might even come on and have a chat with a certain Nick Philpott.
Indeed, he do. That's actually being planned in the background as we speak. On Dean Davenport, if you are watching this evening, and I know you do from time to time, on behalf of everybody at Red and Blue Review, happy birthday, mate. Many happy returns to you, and congratulations on a phenomenal season. You know, we've always had the back of the ladies and the under-23s and under-18s going forward. We'll just looking at some of the comments in the chat that I'll go through. It's definitely something people are really interested in. Ladies and gentlemen out there, don't forget you can find us on all your favourite podcast channels. We're on Twitter, YouTube, or simply ask your smart speaker to play the latest Red and Blue Review podcast. Failing that, just go to our website, redandbluereview.co.uk, where our entire back catalogue is there. Thank you for that, Nigel. We're going to move on. We're going to go on now to something that's going on for the Arsenal game. Ian, I'm going to get you to jump in a second. I've got the details here. Walk and talk, very important, especially after those of you who watched last week's show and a few previous shows. Paul Price at Homesdale Cravatics is doing another one of his walk and talks between Selhurst and the Emirates. And I'm going to give you the detail. And actually, Nigel, have you got the details there, or would you like me to do it? I'm sorry, Ian.
I haven't got the details in front of me. I can remember them, I think. So I'll talk. Right, I'll talk, and you correct me if I'm wrong. So okay. Paul Price, first of all, is a top fella. Homesdale Cravatics. I've done a couple of walk and talks with him. He's a really nice fella. And on Saturday, the 15th of May, they're walking from the Emirates Stadium to Selhurst Park, which was, of course, the original date of the Palace Arsenal fixture. They're meeting at 8:45 for a 9:30 leave, I understand. I've seen it advertised as 9:30 for 10, but I'm pretty sure it's a 9:30 leave. So Unfortunately, I can't make it. I'm gutted, actually, I can't make it because I've got a family commitment. And Nick, I know you're working. Nigel, you're in the northeast, and Tim, you're in New Zealand, so you're let off. But I'm a bit, you could come over for it, really, couldn't you? But I want to know from anyone that's watching this show tonight, if you're planning to go on that walk. It's 12.5 miles from the Emirates Stadium. It's not, you don't have to walk the whole way. You can join in halfway through. You can join in from St Paul's Cathedral, I think is the first stop, which is about an hour and a half in. And then there's another stop somewhere along the way. And then there's a Half Moon pub at Herne Hill, which is 4.5 miles from Selhurst. Now, you can join in any stage of the walk you want. I'd really encourage anyone that's listening and you're at a loose end next Saturday. What have you got to lose? Why don't you join in? Get yourself to the Emirates Stadium for 8:45, 9 o'clock in the morning, and get your walking shoes on, your trainers on, wear your Palace shirt, be proud that you're Palace, and walk to Selhurst Park. Nick, you want to come in?
Look what I've got. Look what I've just found.
What you found?
Jack Mackenzie Kirk. Jack, good evening, mate, and welcome to the family.
Well done, Jack. He's doing it, is he? Brilliant.
Jack, you don't realise what you've just done, mate. By saying the words, I'm doing it with a muscle emoji, which is what he's just done in the chat. Jack, I'm asking you a direct question personally. Forget everybody that's sitting out there, all 60 of them, and these four watching. Are you available to join the team next Sunday night to pop on and tell us about your experience of the day of this year's Walk and Talk? We would love it to have you for a 10-minute guest to let us know what you think and how you felt after the walk. Tell them all about the camaraderie that Ian and I felt last time we did it. Are you up for it? Let me know in the chat right now, mate, please.
Brilliant. So, yeah, it's a great day. So I just encourage anyone else out there that's thinking about doing it, get out there and do it if you can. I'm really gutted I'm not doing it next Saturday. But I will definitely 100% be doing one next season. And I know you will, Nick, as well. It's usually a London fixture like Arsenal or Chelsea or something like that. I think we did Arsenal and Chelsea last year. And it's just a fantastic experience. And it's great to chat to opposition fans as well. And you get picture opportunities and a few beers along the way. It's just a crack, isn't it? Really
it
good.
is. And who else is jumping on? Teresa's out there. She's encouraging Jack to jump on the show next week. She said, do it, Jack. She said, Claire Davis, hello, darling. Neil Chatterjee. Teresa, as I say, quite a few of you out there. So, Jack, I'm still waiting on your response in the chat. Don't be shy. We won't bite. I promise we'll look after you. I promise you we'll look after you. So, Palace made this announcement in the week. They are delighted to confirm that a limited number of 2021 season ticket holders will be able to return to Selhurst Park for the Eagles' final home game of the season against Arsenal, following the Premier League's confirmation of the fixture adjustment. That match will be played on Wednesday, the 19th of May at 1900 hours, which will mean 6,500 supporters can attend the clash according to the government's proposed easing of restrictions, which, by the way, are still subject to change, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who have bought your tickets already, don't forget, if there is a spike, things will change, okay? I don't think there will be now, but the subject to change caveat is quite important. Season ticket holders who did not attend the Spurs match earlier this season are now able to buy their first round of match tickets based on the club's loyalty point system. Now, Ian, is it 5,500 over 5,500?
Yeah, it's 5,500 points, 5,500 Paris points over this weekend, basically. I think until 10 o'clock Monday morning when it changes to 5,000 points, and then it's a sliding scale down. And I think if you went to the Spurs game, you've got to wait till Monday week to have a chance. But frankly, I don't think there'll be any tickets left by then. So it rather looks, because I was at the Spurs match, that I'm going to have to miss out, which I'm disappointed about. But obviously, it's fair enough, I guess. And again, we want to hear from you. If you've got an Arsenal ticket and you're going to the game, tell us that you've got a ticket. That'd be great. And when we do a show after the Arsenal game, if you were in Selhurst Park, again, Nick and I, we haven't rehearsed this bit, but we'd love to have 2 or 3 of you, or maybe if you've been to the game, to hear about your experience inside Selhurst for that game. Yeah, so it's a great experience. Right. I mean, the Tottenham was fantastic. It was only 2,000 was that day, and it was December. It was freezing cold, but I was just proud to be there that day. and some of you might have been there as well. And it was just really good to have been there. And I think we made a difference. We were 1-0 down at home to Spurs that day, and the crowd just made a bit of noise, and we equalised late on. So, you know, I think it really can make a difference. And I was going to say Arsenal aren't doing very well, but they're 2-0 up at half time. But prior to today, they weren't playing particularly well. And
So, Matt,
I fancy our chances against them.
Matt Miller has just asked. Go on, Nigel.
Yeah, just to add to that, gold members, there's 55 tickets have been put to one side, and if you go on the website somewhere, there's a link, and you can enter a draw, and they're going to draw 55 gold members on Wednesday.
Nige is in the draw, aren't you, Nige?
Nige is in the draw, and he lives up in Newcastle, and he will be down for the game. Matt Miller's asking in the chat, how can he print off his Arsenal tickets, please? Well, normally, Nige, they send you an e-ticket, and if that's what you've requested, they'll send you over an e-ticket, and you simply just print it out. It's just a PDF thing on a QR code.
Yeah, that's right, Nick. There'll be a health questionnaire a couple of days before the game as well. So I know they're trusting you to answer the questions correctly, but yeah, you have to answer that you haven't got any COVID symptoms and all that malarkey. But Nick, you're right. They just send you an e-ticket. Literally, it's a day before the game. And I think they do that late in the day so that people can't necessarily pass them around to other people, because I think it's quite important. We're a global pandemic. I know we're coming out of it, but we need to play our part and play by the rules, really.
And do you know what? This is the beauty of doing a show live. All the others are podcasts, pre-recorded and rehearsed podcasts. This is live as people are talking to us in the chat. As Matt just asked that very relevant question about the ticket. This is live. And he just said he hasn't had his email ticket. But as he just quite rightly pointed out, probably the day beforehand. John Lyons, I can see you in there. Great having an exchange with you in the chat earlier, mate. Love to the family. So any supporter who's eligible for the first round is guaranteed a ticket if bought any time before 10 a.m. tomorrow. No, that can't be right. 10 a.m. Monday the 7th of May, it says here. I think that's wrong because today's the 9th of May, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the 10th Monday of May, yeah.
That's a printing error by the club. Very shoddy.
Again.
With our illustrious admin department at the club. Our phone lines are extremely busy, so the best way to purchase your ticket is online. There is a link on the website. Get on there and get your tickets before they all get snapped up. Once all remaining season tickets have been offered tickets according to their loyalty point status, those who attended the Spurs match will become available should any remain. And as Ian has rightly alluded to, highly unlikely. So, have we done all the bits and pieces? I think we have done. We can move on, don't you think, now, lads? So, Palace finally secured their Premier League status with a 2-0 away win at Bramall Lane. 2 deflected goals at either end of the game were enough to get past already relegated Sheffield United. Christian Benteke scored with a deflected shot after 66 seconds to claim his 4th goal in 10 games. And I believe, guys, am I right in saying that he's now 7 for the season?
Yeah, 7, yes. Yeah.
7 for the season. And am I also right in saying that's more than his previous 3 seasons put together?
Yeah, every Sky commentator, every game says that, Nick. So, yes, you're right.
Yeah. Ebrieze broke forward late on to convert the second, to secure the Eagles' first win in 5 games, putting them out of reach, third from bottom, Fulham. Anyway, I'll leave the rest of that to Ian to cover the game. The starting lineup was as follows: with Guaita, Ward, Kouate, Cahill, Mitchell, Milivojevic, Eze, Schlupp, Townsend, Benteke, and Zaha. Ian, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, what a start! Absolutely brilliant. I mean, if you're one of these people that turn up late to a game, you're gonna kick yourself, aren't you? That we're 1-0 up and you've missed the goal. If that was you, Nick, in the ground, you'd still be in the men's room, wouldn't you? You know, or something. You know, I know you. You know, or at the tea bar, you know, trying to get another coffee or something. But if you turn up late to the game, you're going to miss the goal. 66, 67 seconds in, lovely goal, really, wasn't it? And I think what we'll talk about Eze, who was man of the match, a little bit more as well. But you know, he played all over the park. He was given a free rein. He played in the centre. He played on the right. He played on the left. He played where he wanted to jolly well play. And he picked the ball up. A lovely little exchange in our own half of the pitch. And he picks the ball up and he runs with it and he glides, doesn't he, Eze? Eberechi Eze. He glides with the ball. And he plays Benteke in. And initially I thought he was offside, and he might have been, but for the fact that it came off a Sheffield defender as he plays the ball through. And as we know, the shot was deflected before it went into the net, but it was on target, so it was Benteke's goal. And I'm really pleased for Christian Benteke. You know, a lot of people have been calling for Mateta to start, for Amici Batshuayi to start, but Benteke's got the shirt, and 7 goals. It's not a great return, but it's not a bad return either in the Premier League for a team that isn't scoring many. So great start to the game. First half I thought was probably our better half. I've got some stats here, if I can just get my phone fired up. So this is the first half possession. We have 53%, so we have the majority of possession. And I always get nervous when we have the majority of possession, because in no game this season, when we've had the majority of possession, have we won. All right. So when we've had more than 50%, we've either drawn or lost the game. But we had 12 shots on target to their 2. Sorry, 12 shots rather to their 2, and 4 on target to their none, and 7 corners. So, you know, we bossed the game big time in the first half. Second half, well, before I move on to from the first half, there was one other chance in the first half that was fantastic. Schluppy got down the left, didn't he? And it was good to see Jeffrey Schlupp start. I thought that was the other big thing for me. It was great to see him get a start, because I think he's deserved it. And he got a beautiful ball in onto Christian Benteke's head. And I reckon 8 times out of 10 he scores then. But he heads the ball. Nothing too wrong with the header, but it's too close to the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper does very, very well and saves it. So that should have been 2-0, arguably. And we're going to half-time, comfortable at 1-0, but it's still 1-0. And when you're at 1-0, you're always looking over your shoulder, aren't you? Thinking, actually, the opposition, all they need is a lucky break, and they're back in this game. Second half, I don't know. I just felt that we were going through the motions a little bit in the second half, and it was a little bit end of season-ish. You know, Sheffield United clearly weren't very good. Quite how they beat Brighton 1-0 the other week is beyond me. But you know, they you think they'd be playing with a little bit more freedom. Players playing for contracts are in the shop window a bit in the Premier League, but they weren't particularly good. And it looked very much like it was going to be 1-0 until that Gary Cahill assist. In his own penalty area, he passes the ball. How did Cahill get an assist for that goal?
I saw it.
Yeah, it's a nonsense, isn't it? It really is. I don't know if you do FPL
from his own penalty spot. What a load of old
yeah, if you do FPL, Gary Cahill scored 11 points yesterday. My life, that is criminal. That really is. Anyway, he passes the ball, and Eze picks the ball up almost in the left wing back position, and he's off the pitch, isn't he? He's actually off the pitch, and he glides and he glides and he glides. And he gets the edge of the box and he shoots and he scores through a deflection, which is great to see. And we needed a second goal. We always needed a second goal. And then there was the thing about Wilf, wasn't there? Wilf didn't look very happy when Eze scored that second goal. And the problem with Wilf is that he always likes to be the centre of attention, I think. But he had bust a gut to get into the penalty area. You watch him run. He runs. He does a sub 11-second 100 metres, Wilf, to get into the penalty area. And he wants the ball and he doesn't get it. And I think that's why he had the ump. But I think it was a momentary thing. I'm sure he's fine now. I hope he's fine now. Before that, Benteke hit the post. It was a good effort. Again, he made it for himself. So I think there was some good all-round play. I thought the ref was overzealous with his yellow cards. Wardy got a yellow card for sort of playing the ball and following through in the first half. I saw the West Ham Everton game this afternoon. There was one very similar, not given as a yellow card. So, you know, you got to say, you know, there's no consistency there really. So 2-0, we bossed it 2-0. We won the game easily. And if you look at the total shots in the game, 21 shots, Crystal Palace. Who's saying that Palace don't attack? 8 on target, 11 corners. I know it's only Sheffield United, never really relegated, but you've still got to beat what's in front of you. And I thought we played well, given those stats, and we won 2-0. We got the win, we got the points that we needed, points that gave us Premier League safety for yet another season. So next year will be our 9th in the Premier League. And I might have said this last week or the week before. If you were at Wembley in 2013, would you have really said we would have done 8-9 years in the Premier League? I'm not sure I would have done. You know,
Definitely not. I mean,
Yeah.
it was. I think you're right to celebrate the fact, boys. I'm coming to you next because I want to talk. I want one of you to pick Eze and one of you to pick Zaha in a minute. But I think you're right to celebrate in the.
Make one point about the Eze goal.
Yeah, go on, mate.
The Eze goal was an exact carbon copy of what he scored against them at Selhurst back in January.
similar, wasn't it? Very similar. Yeah.
Very similar.
Picked it up from the same place on the left wing
Yeah.
and just danced through them right through the edge of the penalty box.
I think the finish was a bit sweeter at Selhurst than it was.
I was going to say it wasn't deflected, was it?
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, Ian made the point before I come to you two guys about the celebrating the fact that we are in the Premier League for another season. I put a post out on Red and Blue News earlier, guys, in Facebook land. For those of you who haven't seen it, heartbreaking that the Clowns, Charlton, missed out on the playoffs just on goal difference. Sha-la-la, la-la-la-la-la. Millwall gets spanked, what was it, 6-1 yesterday?
6-1 to Coventry, yeah.
Brighton lose and have 2 sent off, one of which was after the final whistle. We win and stay safe for another season, as Ian just alluded to. If Carlsberg made perfect weekends.
There you go.
I must admit, I was absolutely chuffed. It was a good result yesterday, and I've just lost the show. I haven't got the show on my iPad at the moment. So anybody's commenting in now, I can't see for a minute. Okay. Right, Tim, to you first. I'm a bit concerned about Wilfried Zaha's demeanour, Wilfried Zaha this, even to the point where when Eze scored the second goal, he couldn't be asked. Give me your thoughts on the Wilfried Zaha scenario while I'm trying to sort my iPad out, please.
Yeah, first of all, it was an even better weekend because the Mighty Crusaders, the best club rugby side in the world, won their 4th Super Rugby New Zealand title on the weekend, but that's another story. Wilf, excuse me, I kind of go either way with Wilf. I was tired again of his apparent lack of team spirit on Saturday. But then also you got to think he's currently scored, I think it's 10 goals this season, which is his joint highest total for us. One more obviously beats it. I did for most of the game think, we could class this win, if we win this, as a win without Wilf playing because he didn't kind of do much until the last 10 minutes. But again, it's like I said last week, I can understand, the way that we've gone the last few years, I can kind of understand his frustration at the moment because it's not just a couple of games where they've been trained not to attack. It's seasons where another stat, I don't know if you guys had it over there, another stat that on our commentary we got was that Palace have the lowest number of goals from a corner in the Premier League this season at 2. And I think, that's because we never attack, or we usually don't attack. So that's why.
I've not seen that.
But Wilf, I mean, we all know what he can do. He knows what he can do. On one hand, I think, pull your stuff in, Wilf. Just play the game. You're a professional footballer getting paid shed loads of money to put a performance. I don't want to see your tantrums when you're on the pitch. In the changing room or on the training pitch, do what you want. But you're representing my club when you go out there. And you look at how, Starman, with all the grief he's had, what a performance he put in, the effort he put in. You look at Joel Ward over the years, what he's done for the club. And if any player's got a right to complain about not playing, it's Wardy over the last few years. But he's still there. He's still putting the performances in. Cahill. So if they can do it, so can you, Wilf. So, I understand it. But he's the only one now at his age. He's the only player. He's the only person that can put himself out and give himself the kick up the arse he needs. I think.
Boys, I've got a question.
Totally well said, Tim.
Yeah, and I think everything you said, I won't argue with any of it. I'm fed up to the back teeth of his. He's. I don't know what the word is. What is his attitude? He doesn't seem bothered. Anyway, so is he injured? Ian, I'm coming to you. Nigel, coming to you on Eze in a minute. But Ian, is he carrying an injury? Is he carrying a knock?
He might be, but that's not the point, is it? I mean, he still moans and complains all the time, and he's got to change that attitude. It is an attitude thing, and I'm disappointed that we're still talking about this even now. You know, at the end of this season, when it's been going on for years. I mean, I was at Southampton when he got sent off for applauding the referee in front of his face. It was a stupid thing to have done.
Yeah.
And it was unnecessary. And he's just got to learn. He's 28 years of age. He's not a kid anymore, you know, but he is a great player. And, you know, he is the 5th in all-time appearances for Crystal Palace. They put this on social media this morning. And I think they did it to maybe just to I don't know, as a response to his poor performance. So he's played 389 times for this club. Behind Julian at 405, Albert Harry, whoever he was, at 440, Terry Long at 480, and of course Jim Cannon at 660. So Wilf, you know, he is a Palace legend, and I think we need to respect what he's done over the years. But I agree with everything that Tim has said. I think he just needs to buck his ideas up. He needs some counselling or something, so that he doesn't take his attitude out on the pitch. He lets his football do the talking. He gets kicked a lot. He gets fouled a lot. We all know that because he's a great player. But he needs to rise above it. He really does. And I don't understand why he doesn't.
Right, I'm gonna get involved in the chat a little bit if you don't mind. Colin Squire said, "I'm sure Roy shouted something towards the end of the game. I think he actually swore at Wilf.
That's what I heard as well.
Don't effing do that there or something along those lines." Andrew Adams says, Teresa said, didn't Morrison man have a bad attitude? Matty Cannon saying, if Wilf's injured, he shouldn't be playing. Ian Lyons is saying, Tim, well said. Luke Cooper saying he's frustrated under the current management and he needs a new manager, don't we all? And there was another one that I wanted to read out as well. Is it funny that no manager has been able to curb Zaha's bad temper? It's because he was top dog. He was top dog. Right, Mr. Croucher, let's talk about what we have in Abruzzese. Now, I'm aware that already he's made his mark in the Premier League. I'm aware already the vultures are circling over Selhurst Park. Okay,
the vultures of the press,
and a lot of it is the press. Yeah, go for it. So what would you do about it? Would you put it on? Give him a better contract with a £90 million out clause?
They've got to put a high limit on him because he's got a contract at the moment until 2025, I think it is.
Yeah.
But they've got to up his wage, and even if they just stick another year on it and make it 2026, they need to. You know, we've got to keep him. He's the future of the club as we stand at the moment. I say once we get the fans full time back in the stadium, and he can sort of show off to the fans as well. You know, I think we're going to see even more of him.
We need a song, don't we? We haven't got a song, have we, for him?
Well, we haven't really been together to make a song.
Exactly, yeah. We need a song.
I think he's a cheat. I honestly think he's a cheat. You heard it here first, folks.
You think Eze's a cheat?
Yeah, and let me explain.
Go
There
on.
is no way that bloke has got that much talent where the ball sticks to his foot. He's got Velcro on his boots. I'm telling you now. He's got Velcro on his boot. The bloke is what you got there, and I think I might have alluded to this on a show a couple of weeks ago. What we have here with this young man, okay, is the same as we had with Wilf 10 years ago. Oh my God, we have this diamond playing for our football club. It makes his dodgy old ticker. You all know I've got a dodgy ticker. It makes his old dodgy ticker skip a beat. He is such an exciting prospect because that's what he is. There's make no bones about it. He's still making silly mistakes. He's only young. Give him a break, okay? But the way that he glides across that surface with the ball no more than a couple of inches from his foot, I'll tell you, it's either that or it's on a bit of elastic, one or the other. Okay, it's just supreme to watch. So bring the two subjects together then, the Zaha and the Eze subjects together, gentlemen. This is open question to you
Have
all.
you seen Teresa's comment?
No, go on, tell me what Teresa's saying. Read it out.
As he like a Sunday morning.
Yeah, Teresa, that's very good, but it's not original, my dear.
Yeah,
I prefer
okay.
Matt Cannons. Sorry, I prefer Matt Cannons.
What do you make say?
His Ebenezer good.
Is Ebenezer good?
Is
Matt-
good.
All right, okay, all right. So yeah, we do need a sub. But okay, right, bring the two subjects together then, boys. This is open to you all, okay? Nobody in particular. Is Eze's success getting on Wilfred Zaha's tits?
Well, I think it could be, you know. I think it could be. Which is stupid, isn't it? It's ridiculous. You know, and Roy was asked a question in his post-match press conference yesterday. Something like, do you think Eze's performance is taking the pressure off Wilf? Or should it be taking the pressure off Wilf? And do you know what Roy said? He said, no, it should be putting the pressure on Wilf to play better. You know, and it should be. And actually, if Wilf can get his head sorted, between them, they could smash it. They really could. We do need to wrap him up in cotton wool. We do need to build a team around him and all those things that people are saying in the chat. At 16 million and 5 million of add-ons, he looks an absolute snip. You know, he really does. And Roy was also asked, you know, if you were asked to sell him, you know, would you want to sell him? Because of course we wouldn't want to sell him. We bought him to play for Crystal Palace for many years and not to make a quick profit on him. And I think everyone would echo that sentiment, you know. But he is absolutely world class, or will be world class. It's a joy to watch, isn't he?
Go on,
during yesterday's game, he was getting the treatment that Will's had for years.
Yeah.
Of 2-3 players on him and absolutely sizing him down. And that does take a little bit of the pressure off Wilf. But Wilf isn't sort of seen a sort of flourish from the little bit of freedom he's getting. So they've got to work it out between them.
Okay, Tim, I don't know if you're reading the comments in the chat, but Ian and Laurie are having a conversation amongst themselves in there about the potential release clause for Eze. Ian's talking about we need to change his contract to make sure he's got a massive release clause. If you think about it, it's a little bit. I think we did something similar with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and Man United came in and activated the £50 million release clause for Aaron, and we had no choice. He had to go at that point. Do you think it's something that we need to be looking at now?
Yes. I don't like them. I don't like them because it kind of forces your hand. If you put a massive value on somebody, you know, if someone comes in and still pays a massively overinflated price, then fair enough. But the moment you put a clause, something like that, in saying, oh, when someone comes and offers X, you're tied to it. And then you could have no choice but to sell him. So I'm not. I'd rather put a massive, like we did with Wilf, put a massively overinflated, well, if you want him, it's going to be this much. If you're stupid enough to pay that much, great, we'll take it. And we do what we've done, God knows how many other seasons, find somebody else and build up. But you put a release clause in and you're tied to it. It's stuff you don't, you know, it's like the payback with Wilf. If whatever we sell with Wilf, we've got to give United some. It's the same kind of thing in reverse. So I'm not a fan of them.
Okay, and boys, I'm going to ask you a similar sort of question in a minute. Paul Glance, good evening, Lord Glance. I hope you're well, mate. He's saying Eze and Mitchell, and don't forget young Ferguson. If we ever see him, the team should be starting to be moulded because we're going to have so many players shipped out, and that means we're going to have a load more players coming in. The team should be moulded around those young ones. Greg Ellis, good evening, mate. I can see you as well. I hope you're well, buddy. We've got to start planning for the future. Ian, with all your 150 years supporting the club, shaping the future around the youngsters, okay, knowing that we're going to have to bring in 5 or 6 players in the summer, how endangered are we for relegation prospects for next season?
No, I don't think we're in danger for next season at all. I think some deals need to be done with the current squad. Some of the players are out of contract we want to keep. Some we're happy to let go. I mean, Wayne Hennessy, Connor Wickham, cheerio, guys, But others like Gary Cahill, like Wardy, I want to see given new contracts and keep them. PBA, probably let him go as well. I got a direct message on Twitter on Friday afternoon from not a West Brom fan, a Bristol City fan, who said, do I think that Mitchell will be starting at the weekend for Palace? And I said, yeah, I think he will, because I think PVA will be on his bike soon. And he said, cheers, mate. I knew I followed some Palace fan on Twitter. And, of course, it came good for him because he put Mitchell in his fantasy team and he did the business. I said a few weeks ago I want to see Mitchell given a start, and I'm pleased that he's been given a start. And, of course, he's the future. And I think, therefore, PVA will be on his way. I think there'll be others that will break through into the first team. We've seen, we've already talked about the success of the 23s and the 18s, and some of those boys will be knocking on the door for sure. But I don't think we're in any danger, particularly of, at this stage of saying we're in danger of relegation next season, Nick. Definitely not. I mean, we probably could go into the market again, especially if we sell some of these players and get some money in to go and buy a player. I mean, the player I'd like to see us go and buy is someone, especially if they don't go up. If they go up, we've got no chance. But if Brentford don't get promoted, I want us to go and buy that Ivan Toney. He scored 30 goals in the Championship this season. Go and buy him. Break the bank. Go buy the kid.
Tim?
Just following on from that, I do what I normally do when Arsenal lose and have 20 minutes of fun watching AFTV. And they raised a comment that kind of stopped me and made me think they were talking about their academy, their under 23s, and they're on the verge of being relegated. And it kind of made me think, we've had a lot of discussions about the academy over the last couple of seasons and what Parish is doing and what a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. But I've got to say, you look at it now, you look at, as was said earlier on, our under 18s, our under 23s, you look at how well they're doing and the number of quality players. It's not a case of like looking at the first team thinking, oh, it's Wilf, we've got to build a team around Wilf or Eze. You look at those other teams and it's full of really good prospects. So, beginning of the season or during the season, I think we're going to get relegated next year looking at the age of our squad. But I think fundamentally the big thing is who's going to be the manager. If we get someone in like Frank Lampard, who has track record of bringing youth, of bringing young players through, to be fair, I think we could be looking at a pretty rosy next few years if we get the right manager in looking at our academy.
And I'm just going to pick up on something Max has said. Max Francis has said in the chat. He said he's confident that Schlupp, Benteke, Cahill, and Ward will all be offered new contracts before the start of next season, which is obviously the spine. But don't forget, we're talking about the youngsters. We're talking about Eze and Ferguson and Mitchell. But so with Schlupp, Benteke, and Cahill and Ward got some experience in there. But the other ones people aren't talking about are people like yesterday, and we didn't really touch on this during the game. Jordan Ayew and his miss, he should have scored. Andros Townsend, you alluded to, he's cutting from, and he put one just past the post. Christian Benteke, guys, if you look at our names, our quality of player compared to some of the other teams down there, I don't think we're going to be relegation fodder. I just worry about a large input of new players and whether they have time in the close season to gel. Bear in mind, half of the squad are going to be away on Euro duty anyway. That's it. That's why I asked you the question.
I don't think it'll be a large number that come in. I don't think we're going to see wholesale changes. We might see one or two promoted from the 23s into the squad, which makes it, they're already part of the club. It could be two or three, Nick. It doesn't need to be loads. It really doesn't.
Okay.
The thing we've got to remember, we've got the likes of Woods and Banks, who are absolutely cracking it in the 23s. They went out on a half-season loan in January, and they're due to come back.
So the prospect, the prospect for the future, no doubt.
Yeah, so it's not just the the 11 players that have been sort of knocking it out in the last few weeks, we've done it over a season, and some of those players are out learning the trade at the moment. So obviously that's up to Mark Bright to be sort of going. That's his job to go and sort of see what they're doing while they're out on loan.
Right, yeah, your money.
Right, let's just finish up. Let's just finish up on that bit there. Then, so the win at Bramall Lane means Crystal Palace are mathematically safe for a 9th successive season in the Premier League. Wouldn't it be great to make that 10, boys? Double figures, eh? Next up for Palace is an away game at St Mary's on Tuesday evening. That's the 11th of May. Kick-off at 8:15 British summertime. I added that in there for you, Tim. BST against Southampton, and it will be live on Sky Sports. Following that, it's we're at home to Villa next Sunday, the 16th, which is a 12 o'clock kickoff. And then, of course, the last home game of the season against Arsenal on Wednesday, the 19th. They are coming thick and fast, isn't it? So that's midweek weekend to the end of the season now. So the Arsenal game is Wednesday, the 19th, 7 o'clock kickoff. And the final game of the season, away, as we all know, is away at Anfield at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But the entire Premier League is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon as well. Now, boys, last weekend we touched on who was on last weekend. Ian, you were on last weekend. Tim, were you here with us last week? Yeah. So we touched on what we thought we could accumulate out of the last 5 games. Can you remember what you offered up?
Didn't I say? I think I said 7. So we got 3 of them.
I think you said
or
7.
8. I was 7 or 8, 1 or 2.
I went with 5. Tim, what did you
go
with?
I went 7 in the chat.
You went 7 in the chat. Tim?
6.5.
Yeah.
6.5.
Yeah.
4. I went 4.
You went 4, did you? Well, we got 3.
So in the last 4 games, we got 1 draw. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just remembering last season.
Yeah, but this is this season, so you know it's different.
And it is different because it's but his point is right, because that's exactly why I went with 5, because of our crap. The fact that we've got some tasty teams coming out, including Arsenal and Liverpool. Okay, and Tim's point is absolutely well made, because I went with 5 for that very reason, and it looks as though I might have been too conservative. So, with the knowledge that you now have, boys, and the 3 of you, with the knowledge you now have that we've got 3 of them already, do you want to change how many points you think you're going to get, Ian?
Yeah, I'm going with. I think I'll go with 10, because I think we'll beat Southampton. I think we'll draw with Villa, and I think we'll beat Arsenal and lose to Liverpool. There's my prediction.
My God, your glass isn't half full and half empty.
No, it's more than half full. My beer glass, my red and blue tinted spectacles.
I was going to say you got a head on yours.
But look, let's face it, Southampton are crap. They're not particularly good. I mean, we'll have a punch up with them down there on the south coast on Tuesday night. They've played as many games as we have. Why can't we go and beat them? No reason at all. We've got the players, we've got the personnel to beat Southampton, I think. I think Villa will be a different proposition. I think they'll be tough, really tough. And I think we'll draw the game. Arsenal, they're hot and cold. I mean, I know they're winning tonight. They're playing West Brom. I listened to 5 Live the other night after they lost in the Europa League semi-final. I was just listening to it for about half an hour, and they had Arsenal, Gooner, this, that, and the other on, talking about it, saying how crap they were and how awful they were, and how disappointed they were. And I thought, you know what, we could beat these. So I'm going 10 points. There you go.
I'm coming to you next, Nigel. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, your prediction for the last 4 games, please. How many points are we going to accumulate? What do you think, Nigel?
I reckon 3 on Tuesday. I'm going 3 against Villa and 1 off the Arsenal.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what he's just said. Yeah, so Chris Wood is saying 4 more points from the last 4 games. Andrew Adams says we can beat Saints and Villa. Ian Lyons has just said, I won't use the swear word that he's just used, but he said, as Ian Noble being on the salts. John Knox is saying 7 points. Daniel Garlick is saying 6. Teresa's saying 8. Good God, have you been on that Prosecco all day, Teresa? I know you're weekend on. Claire Davis is saying 4, and I think that's probably closer to it. Luke is saying 1 more point out of 4. Luke, your glass is nearly empty, mate. I've got to tell you, you need to go and get another can out of the fridge. Graham Kitcher, I hope you're feeling well, bud. 4 points, and Greg Ellis is saying 3. Jones saying 4, and so they continue. What were we going to do? What was I going to do next? I can't remember. Where we going to go? What have I covered everything to do with the game, lads? I think I have, haven't I?
Yeah, I think you have. Yeah, I think what we could do is look ahead at the next game. Do we make changes for Tuesday night? They come thick and fast, these games, don't they?
Actually, that's what I was going to do here. I was going to I was going to ask you to talk about that scumbag down there. Okay, James Ward, kick him in between the legs. I can't. Do you know? There's not many football players that walk even Brighton players. I'm nonplussed about them. Okay, but James Ward Prowse, the ginger twat.
He's a little shit.
I've got to shut up. You three talk about James Ward Prowse for 2 minutes because I can't bear the bloke, as you can probably tell.
No, I agree with you, Nick. I don't like the bloke. I'll tell you what, I might play on Tuesday night James McCarthy in the middle of the pitch. Because he likes to punch up to me. Have you seen that picture of him getting hold of James Ward-Prowse in the opening game of the season? He really was getting hold of him, and he does like to mix it up a bit, McCarthy. And look, if he gets a couple of yellows and gets sent off towards the end of the game, it doesn't really matter because we've got other players coming in. I would play McCarthy. I'm not sure who for, but I'd like to see him have a go really at them and really put it about a bit on Tuesday night.
What? That is an inspired thought because you're quite right. If anybody's going to put him up in the air, it's either going to be Luke or it's going to be McCarthy. And McCarthy is the right person. Tim, thoughts on James Ward, scumbag, shitbag, please?
I'd have him in our team.
Oh, would you?
Oh, yeah.
I'd put him in the middle. But I can't stand the guy. But as a player, if I look at him, I think he'd fit right in with us. I'd kick Luca out and I'd put him in. For creative, because he's a creative player. He makes chances. He plays well. He's a good footballer.
He's a good set ball player. Yeah, he is.
I'll tell you one thing we need to be careful of on Tuesday night is not to give away free kicks around the edge of the box because he can hit the target. He really can hit the target and do it quite comfortably, consistently well.
Simon Philpott, as you said, James Ward-Prowse and Lewis Dunk. They're his 2 worst players in the Premier League. You got anybody else in the Premier League, ladies and gentlemen, out in Facebook land? Anybody that was worse than James Ward-Prowse in your mind? We have had some questions from the questions crew, boys. Okay, and I'm going to start off with this one. So we now know that it's going to be West Brom, probably Fulham, and Sheffield United that have gone. Okay. So Tom Clark Samuel, thank you for your work, Tom. You are doing a brilliant job. He says, we need to raid the relegated teams for the best players or teams who don't get promoted, their best players. Now, there is a guy that plays for West Brom. Somebody in the chat, help me out, please.
Pereira in the middle of the park?
No, it wasn't Pereira, although he's a very good player. Guys out the Facebook land, who's the tall, gangly, I think he's centre midfield player, black fella, playing for West Brom. He is Ngannou, is it? Is it Ngannou? Or Garlo? Somebody will tell us in a second. He is an outstanding prospect. And I'd love to see Palace go in for him. And I don't think it'll cost an awful lot. I wish you could see what I'm looking at. Ian, behind your head.
Nick.
Go on, mate.
Ian Lyons has said Gallagher. Gallagher's on loan, obviously, from Chelsea. I agree with you, Ian. I'd like to see him at Selhurst next season. I always worry about this question because these players aren't good. They haven't been good enough for the Premier League this season. They've been relegated, and yet we're talking about buying them for our club. But you're right to say that there will be 1 or 2 gems in there. Look, Norwich sold 1 or 2, kept most of the squad together, been promoted back again. But I think at West Brom, I think the young left back Connor Townsend is a good prospect.
Daniel Garlick got it, by the way. It is Diagne from West Brom. Digna.
Okay.
Really, really good player. And of course, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, says Matt Luca, and about 10 others. And Matt Muxer and a couple of others are saying the same thing. And Chris was saying Pereira that you mentioned, Ian. Is good, very good player. So
there's also the young lad, Fulham, that was on our books as a kid.
Who's that?
Does it matter? He played for Sunderland, and he's with Bordeaux at the moment, and he's on a season loan to Fulham at the moment. And I think Bordeaux are looking for money. So if Fulham go down, that could be a possibility to go and raid him.
And Ian, just to let you know, in case you hadn't seen it, somebody's countered your argument about better players playing for relegated teams. They can't be that good. Steve Mason said Andy Johnson was relegated with us, but he went to Everton for big money, 30 million quid from my memory. My memory so right. Yeah, and I think there'll be, a few examples either way of that. What else we got? And Andrew Adams says, just a little perspective. We were playing relegated Sheffield United, so good to get a win, yes, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And I think that's probably about right. So what else we got in the questions? Oh, Trees are asking what? Go on, mate. You're going to about to say something.
Can I just come to Andrew Adams, who said Josh Madger? Yeah, absolutely. Really good shout, Josh Madger. I watched him on that Sunderland Until I Die documentary, going back a couple of seasons. Fantastic footballer. And I think he's played well for Fulham this season. So, Andrew, yeah, I agree with you, mate. Yeah, Josh Madger. Good shout. Can
you see Lee's point as well? Lee Lockman.
Lockman as well is another one, So
No. Under that, he says, we are the world's 31st richest club. Yeah, we're scrapping around for scraps. And that is a whole show on its own, isn't it, Lee? Let's be honest. The finances of Crystal Palace. And I know we've done it with our very good friend Kieran Maguire at least once this season. Teresa was saying, if Roy was to stay next season, in what way... Sorry, I'll wash my mouth out in a minute. If Roy was to stay next season, in what way could he get support from the fan base? Possible cup run?
I think you'd have to win games. I think we'd have to win the top 6 for everyone to say, yeah, actually, well done, Roy. We're happy that you're staying. Because to a man, I've not seen many Palace fans that say they want to keep him. I know one, actually, a lady called Val Frost. I don't know if you're watching Val, but she's a lady in Uckfield who I know is a Palace fan through and through. And she's a massive Roy Hodgson fan. And on any of her Facebook forums, she sticks up for him and gets slaughtered every time. But she's quite amusing. But I think everyone on here thinks that Roy should bow out gracefully at the end of the season. We've said that week after week after week. We've talked about successors. I think, a lot of people are saying Frank Lampard. Because he's out of a job, he knows the Premier League, he can bring youth through. There's all kinds of reasons why Frank Lampard should get this job. And I'm sure Steve Parish has got it sorted, at least I jolly well hope he has. And he's right that we don't know, frankly. Why would we know at this stage?
Well, if he hasn't got it sorted out, Ian, okay, boys, I'm coming to you for a positive thought in a minute to close the show. But if he hasn't got it sorted out by now, he needs to give his head a wobble, okay? Because he's had all this season to make his decision or the board's decision as to what he's going to do. Sorry, Ian.
I did. Greg Ellis has said, I want Roy to stay. So we've got someone watching the show tonight who wants Roy to stay. Greg, tell us why you want Roy to stay above anyone else. We'd like to know that.
Well, better still, Ellis, get your arse on the show because what a wonderful chap he is. I would like a positive vibe from each of you before we close up here. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget the walk and talk. The Arsenal Sellers Park, sir. The Emirates is really important. The subject matter is close to all our hearts. And if you watched Steve Mason last week make his debut, you'll understand why. Steve will be back again next week. Jel sends his love to everybody out there, by the way. He's had some excellent news on his health, okay? Some excellent news on his health. He's still got his knees to sort out, but from what he was actually worried about initially around this area, what he's got to sort out down there with his kneecaps is absolutely nothing at all. So I speak to Jel nearly every day. He's absolutely fine. He will be back. In fact, he's actually nagging me. Are we going to do an end of season show once the season's completely? Yes, we'll do an end of season show. If nothing else, to get that fat sob back on your screens because everybody's asking for him. Right, Tim Richards in New Zealand. Thank you for producing. Give me your positive thought to close the show.
Be Live didn't kick us out halfway through the show.
Oh, boom! Be Live is now on its last legs, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you're watching this through now. I'm delighted to say that we will be moving over to a new platform. You haven't got to do anything; it's all done for you. Okay, it's just that we're just moving our stuff across. Tim, thank you for doing that, mate. I know, Lucy, you did it. You stepped up at the very last minute, and I'm very grateful. Nigel Croucher, all your work, we love you. Give me your positive thought for the week, please.
This time next week, we'll be sitting on 47 points.
Yeah, you need to stuff that whiskey all day, mate. And Ian Noble, sorry.
One name and one name only. Eberechi Eze. What a player we have at Crystal Palace. I tell you something, he is going to be, I'm going to say this now, right? I was thinking about this. I think he's going to be better than Wilfried Zaha. There you go, I've said it.
Okay, he's put it out there, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody in Facebook land, I can see every single one of your comments. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. You give up your Sunday nights, we give up our Sunday nights because we enjoy doing it, okay? My positive thought is Brighton lost, Charlton didn't make the playoffs, Mill got stuffed, Palace won. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Take care.
Good night.
God bless. Bye.
Bye.